Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. Not a while in posting videos, but posting stuff about Red Dead Online, and there's multiple reasons why, and I'm going to go over them in this video. Now, also, by the time this video comes out, the heavens might have opened, and Rockstar has blessed us with many things for Red Dead Online. I don't think so, but I'm completely fine with being wrong because that's what I want anyway. But at the same time, I've waited a long time to do this video and sat back for months now and kind of thought, hey, why not throw my hat in the ring and kind of just say what I think's wrong with the game. And honestly, as a player that has about 6,000 hours just into online itself, which is probably embarrassing to say, but I love the game. It's not just making video content, I love the game. But you've seen the title. So is Red Dead Online still dying? Well, the answer is yes. It has been for some months now. Probably 7 or 8 months, I think now, since Rockstar said they're not supporting the game any further. And that was originally for last year only. And they never said they were going to keep updating it this year. And as they've shown so far, they haven't. So we're about the third month into 2023, almost the third month. And not a single word, nothing, not even a year in review for Red Dead Online, other than just in their quarterly meeting, the first part of the year, saying that the last quarter of Red Dead Online, there was more active players than the year before in that quarter, just that specific quarter. And there's reasons for that. Tons of sales of the game went on, so that always influxes the community. But think about this. This July will actually be 2 years since we had any kind of DLC for Red Dead Online. Let that sink in for a second. In 2021, we got Blood Money update. And I think we all could say that was the most unlike update, including barely anything that was replayable after you initially did it just for the first time. And some say the Naturalist was, but honestly, I know it's a running joke. Harriet really isn't that bad. Is she annoying? Yes. But basically, the Naturalist has kind of almost been the lifeblood of the game, especially for the money grinder, for the wagon deliveries, for just doing the, even if you're doing pelt glitches, it has been a life force to keep the community together. And yeah, a lot of players, they just hang out now to do wagons and different things like that. And there's also a PvP community. I think those are the two that's really kind of keeping the game together. Well, not keeping the game together, but keeping the community together, because the game's in shambles, really, honestly. When we get ready to dig into it, you'll see why. Now, you may be saying, well, the game is not dead to me. And I get it. I understand what you're saying. You say you still hang out with friends and enjoy hanging out in the game. Well, that's not what makes a game dead. That doesn't, because to you, that's fun. You're still having fun. But there's ones and zeros. There's money and numbers that go into whether or not a game is dead. It goes more into moving forward of a game's live service. Live service games are ones that get passes and DLCs and microtransactions. That's what a live service game is, and that's what Red Dead Online is. And basically, these type of games, they live off microtransactions. And then by the course, new players coming in, ever evolving content that keeps coming in, that gets to buy passes and different things like that. And that's when the problem comes in. Red Dead Online has been neglected huge for the past almost 2 years. I know we're a little bit more than a few months away from 2 years, but we're getting close enough to kind of address the whole issue of that. Just this past month, many live service games that operate like Red Dead Online have started to go offline, or they are offline right now. For instance, check out Young's channel. He's awesome about gaming news, and he breaks down these games that are going offline soon. Games that I'm surprised that haven't even been out that long. And he breaks down to why they are. It's not that there's still players that log in, they enjoy it, because the players are, having outrage that they're going offline, just like Red Dead Online could. But they're still going to shut them down. Now, I know right away, people have always said, hey, Red Dead Online 1 servers are still on. Now, a lot of people are like, what? Red Dead Online 1 has servers, online multiplayer? It does. And honestly, if you look at the game, you'll see probably why it is. It probably doesn't take much to even keep those servers running. It's probably running off a 15-year-old server running Windows 7 on it. And then if you look at what probably keeps going, Red Dead Online, even though it's peer-to-peer, it's going to be a considerable amount of money difference between the two, so why not let that keep running? Now, whether the game's dead or not, you also may say, I see more new players in my lobbies who are low ranked, which means it's alive. Not necessarily the case. I know recently numbers have been shared multiple places I've seen that Red Dead Redemption 2, the sales are, shooting through the roof, specifically through November through December and all the way into the beginning of January. And it makes sense. One, people are home more during the holidays, but two, pretty much Rockstar did its most aggressive sales I've seen on Red Dead Redemption 2 since the game came out. Most places I've seen the game sit for weeks and months at 70% off, and then 50% off for standalone Red Dead Online, which I think is just stupid to do. Why not buy the whole thing? But there was no player spikes in Red Dead Online, which I get, because why buy half a game when you can get the story mode, which is basically the better part of the whole game. But all those number spikes have landed back down to where they were, and it was because there were sales for it. And then, Rockstar is smart. They know what to do. They know what to get the numbers spiked up before their quarterly meeting, and they spiked them up right before their quarterly meeting they had at the beginning of this year. Now, the reason I say this is I've noticed something myself, a rank gap missing in many lobbies. Now, this is over a course of many months, and even though in the past couple months I haven't played the game a lot, before that I noticed there's not a ton of rank 200s to 300s. Now, that may seem odd of why do you say rank 200s to 300s. Now, there's a reason for this. Now, I know this may not be the case for everyone if you go into your lobbies, but I play with a lot of different players in a lot of different time zones, and it seems a common case for me when I notice in the lobbies. So what's going on? Also, how can it be dying if I see a lot of ranks 45 to 80 in my lobbies? Well, it's simple if you think about it. Once you hit rank 100 in the game, everything is unlocked. Even though you could go to rank 1000, you basically topped out of the game. There's nothing that you don't need to do to unlock everything in the game. So the grind to the max out to buy stuff in the game is done. And then when you probably have earned a decent amount of money, you've probably bought majority of the stuff you wanted in the game. There's probably some outfits here and there if you want to be a completionist and buy everything in the game, but pretty much that's it. But you got to think, for the past 2 years, there's been no outlaw passes. There's been no quick draw passes. And for any of us players that are probably say 300 or above, or 400 probably more so above, during those dry times where there was not a ton of content, we still had outlaw passes, quick draw passes overlapping. None of that stuff is here no more. All that stuff has stopped. So what's happening, I believe, is that you see a lot of players, they get up to rank 100, they finally got dynamos, they got all these different things, but there's no content for these new players to have. If you have started this game in the past 2 years, you don't have any new DLCs other than recycled stuff for Christmas and Halloween. Now, Halloween was a little bit different, but it was still very, very few things, because how many CTAs can you keep doing? I mean, come on, were they fun the first couple times? Yeah, but 40 or 50 shooting NPCs, it gets kind of old. So I'm believing that most players, once they hit up to about 100, they get up to 150, because that 50 extra ranks, that's a pretty good grind. I believe they fall off, or they sit the game aside hoping something happens, and then the sales or whatever Rockstar does, it brings in the lower ranked players again, and then they start ranking up, because all there is to do is rank up your characters and buy the existing stuff, because there's nothing new in the game. And then when they hit that peak, I believe they're falling back off again. And then you're left with a faithful few of the people that are high ranks, or some of the people that found good relationships and friendships in the game that powered through, and they're still sticking around. And I'm pretty sure that's what we're dealing with. Now, with all that said, I have actual reasons I think Rockstar has given up on this game. And they don't treat it like they do GTA Online. They did for a little while at the beginning, but they completely ignore anything to do with GTA Online. And it's not the way you're thinking. It's not the part of giving it content. It is maintaining the servers, maintaining the gaming atmosphere, the playability in it. They're not even doing anything about it. And the fact that they're not doing this, and this directly affects their money in their pocket, that's why it's concerning. So the first one is they have stopped patching any glitches and let them go for months. Also, not crapping on the glitch community, because honestly, some of my first videos was glitches. But I think the people that do the videos and the people that do them realize it's a risk, one, to do it, because if you look at what they do in GTA Online, no one's ever got banned, far as I know, but they've got money wiped. But the content creators, I know when I was doing them, I knew you had a limited time to do it. So I'm not crapping on them, because usually Rockstar would patch it. But right now, there's a gold bar glitch in the game that I know for at least 3 months has been going on, to where players, as long as you find a certain treasure map, and I'll leave it at that, you could get hundreds of gold bars per day if you want to put the time into it, and it's not that hard to do. And the fact that Rockstar is not patching that, the treasure chest glitch from, you know, a few years back, they were quick on that within a day or so. And then there was a variation and they patched that right away. This, they've just left it alone, and microtransactions is the lifeblood of live service games. And these videos are getting thousands and thousands of views. There's no way if they cared, they're not noticing it. It's the fact of they don't care. And every game has glitches. Every game has glitching communities. It's not a new thing. It's not a thing that'll kill a game. But the fact that the developers are just not caring shows that in this area, they're not upkeeping or not thinking in the future for the life of the game. That's my main point. And then there's ones, honestly, too, a lot of us have just been dealing with that are just quality of life ones. You know, the infamous stable glitch where you freeze if you go into the stable with your horse. I know sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you know, say if somebody's streaming from their PlayStation, you gotta shut their stream down because they gotta close the game. Also too, there's tons of different things to where, honestly, of course, you got the stable glitch, but then you got the broken horses that won't show up. Then you got the freaking pelts that are staying on the back of the horse, which that's not a game breaker, but it's annoying. It shows that they don't care. And then on top of that, outside of that, you got the hunting wagons that half the time they don't show up, or sometimes they just appear and they're on fire. They're still doing that. So it's like, what the crap? It just shows the fact of that they don't care. And then also, how many hideouts? There's certain hideouts when you do the missions, they just don't never end. You either, one, have to close the game, or two, join on a friend that's showing online to even get out of it. Or sometimes you can run far enough away and then it fails, but most times that doesn't even work. Now let's get to the part I think that is actually damaging to the community. Now, whether the game is thriving or, for what I say right now, the game is dying, the PvP glitches, exploits, and cheats that are going on in the game, those are the things that are chasing people off that are still trying to hang around. Me as being one of them. I've always tried to show the PvP community in my streams and my videos. I am far beyond being the best, but I enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed it enough to be good at it to where I can enjoy it. I am nowhere near the best. And honestly, there's really no reason to be the best because it is an auto lock game. It's made just to have fun with, but you could still have fun with it and be competitive, even though it's not a competitive game. So honestly, let's go through a quick list of the things that are in the game. Now, some of these can't be patched because of Rockstar choosing to have peer-to-peer servers. And as long as peer-to-peer servers are here, which they probably always will be because GT Online's always been on them, that these will not be able to be patched because they're unpatchable. And then there's ones that can be patched, they just ignore them. So number one, most of us probably know about being booted out of the game. Now, if you don't, it's kind of simple. Due to Rockstar's peer-to-peer servers, your IP address is always public unless you have a really good VPN, because even some VPNs can still be gotten through. But the players can get your IP address, overload your router at your house, and they can keep doing it if they want to if you have a static IP, and kick you out of the game. And these same people are delusional to where they'll say they're on top of you and they won and beat you in a fight, but they literally had to kick you out of an auto lock game. So it's just insane, the fact of that. But that's been around for a while, and that's been around for a while in this game and many other games as well. It's just one of the other things you have to fight through. And number two is lag switching. Lag switching has been around for a long time in many other games too, but it's just another thing you have to fight through. And if you don't know what lag switching is, you probably experienced it and didn't know what the hell's going on. But basically, players can throttle their internet to where they teleport around you, but they never, disappear themselves on their screen. They're just disappearing, reappearing around you, and then shooting you when they reappear. But then there's also freeze lagging. Now, with this, they're able to change settings on their DNS and different things like that to where when they shoot you, you freeze. And realize this is an auto lock game. They shoot you, you freeze, and they can keep moving around and shooting you full force during this time, but you're frozen. And then they kill you. And these same delusional people will say that they're up on you. It's pretty insane that you have to deal with that. But what happens as well during these times, they end up doing this so much to where it corrupts lobbies. and it becomes into what they call dirty wars. Now, dirty wars are to where a lot of times these lobbies get so unstable that you can't even use certain ability cards because the game will start crashing and you'll get blue screened if you use those ability cards. Specifically, if you use like Slippery Bastard, and I've even had it used where you use Focus Fire. It's kind of insane that it gets to that point in an auto lock game that people are going to the extent to use these exploits. And then they use them to the point that you literally get blue screened out of the game. And the sad part about it is there's a lot of good crews and a lot of good players out there still, but a lot of them end up having to go and do the same tactics to even enjoy any of the wars. Now, of course, it's by choice, but at the same time, people still, they enjoyed this game. So they end up doing the very thing that they hate so they can keep playing the game, and it's just a vicious cycle. And then number 3, we've had this variation for many times, but Rockstar doesn't do anything about it. And this one's been going for well over a year, at least the initial one that people are using this for, but off radar. Sounds pretty much like it is. If you look down your bottom left, radar, your little mini map, the players are not visible on there, and they could just come up and shoot you in the face and shoot you in the face again. And again, these are the same players that will call themselves pro players, which there's no such thing in this game as a pro player. But they will say they're a pro player and they're off radar shooting you. And then the thing is though too, you can't even auto lock on them when they're off radar. And it's pretty insane that the extent again that this is used. And these are not by chance, these are purposely done. Number 4, we have God mode. I know this is long-winded, but I'm proving my point with all this, the fact that Rockstar doesn't fix this stuff. God mode is what it is. You're basically like a god. People purposely glitch yourself to where they could take any damage in the game. The only way to kill them is certain ways to where you could tie them up and melee them and do a certain configuration while you're doing it. But a lot of times when I ran into these guys are using lag switches as well. So when you tie them up and you untie them to do a melee so you can kill them, they're lagging themselves out of the being tied up, so then you can't do it. It's pretty insane, but God mode has been in tons of different games. It's been in GTA Online forever. But the fact of is that it fully hasn't been patched. They've sometimes in the past months, and it's been a long time, probably close to a year, they patched a version of, but it was so lazily done that they within the same day videos came out on how to do it again. And number 5, which is the last one of the PvP glitches I'll talk about, and this one's really controversial, which it shouldn't really be, but it is from what I've seen people how they defend it, is the defensive glitch. It is a way to where people that call themselves free aimers, which there is some free aimers in this game, but I would say probably 80 to 90% of them are ones that just spray bullets. I have seen people that shoot free aim in this game, even though it's not designed as a third-person game to shoot free aim. I've seen some people be halfway decent in it, but most people are hip firing, just spraying bullets, and eventually they kill something. But the defensive glitch is to where they could purposely go into defensive mode, and then they glitch themselves out to where when they shoot someone first, they don't get taken out of defensive, so they can stay hostile over and over and over again. And while you're in defensive, you get a health buff so you don't take as much damage. And this whole thing was created not to be combative, but it's been to where it's supposed to dissolve conflict, to where it makes people to where like, oh crap, that guy's in defensive, you know, I can't auto lock on him, because the game was made for auto lock. Even though you got some free aim with the sniper rifles and stuff, and there's, you know, there's some free aim community people, I'm sure it's good, but it's very, very minimal compared to the people that say they are. And then it just gets exploited over and over again, and it's insane. It's just insane to where it's being used that way. But it's just the same as all of them. And honestly too, when it comes down to even the ability cards, all the cards in this game are what you would call bot cards. I heard that used so many times, and it's true, honestly, because they say it's just robotic. I'll throw myself under the bus. Slippery Bastard. I use that card because primarily I'm always using a scope. I'm using the Carcano, and when you're in the scope, you can't see radar. It doesn't show up, which I think they should change that, because if so, I'd run Focus Fire. But the reason I use it mainly is one, it combats against Paint It Black, which every card has its nemesis. But it's to where if I'm in scope and there's not somebody off to my right that I can't see because I don't have a radar, is it one shot and, you know, auto locking on me, flicking up real quick and one shotting me in the head. Now, if you have a bow and you got Paint It Black, instant death, you're dead right away. So it's an easy fix around if you're actually good with Paint It Black. So there's not too much to complain about. And then also, if we look at Paint It Black, it is the backbone of Red Dead games. It always has been, and auto lock along with it. So at the same time, I'm not crapping on that. That is what the game has always been, all the way back to Red Dead Revolver. That is what it's supposed to be. And it's just the way it's been, and the game has been built around auto lock in general. And with that as well too, just as you could say all the cards are bot cards, I guess technically you say it's same as well, because you let the game auto lock for you in the vicinity. And yeah, you might have to master a little bit of flicking up the thumbstick and then auto shot head and kill somebody. But yeah, it may take a little bit of a skill to get good at it, but at the same time, if you just get halfway decent one, you're gonna get a headshot and kill them right away anyway. But then with this card too, people that use it, they use it's a light exploit, but I know it's annoying to people, where they can auto put their hat right back on by using one of the beaver pelt, glitches, exploits, whatever you want to call it. So they can just keep putting that back on within like half a second. I've seen some people do it. It's insane how quickly they can do it. And then probably the least liked card, I think probably Paint It Black users and Slippery can agree with, is Slow and Steady. Slow and Steady is great for PvE, but if you're actually trying to do PvP, oh my God, it is horrible. It is horrible, to where you could take an ungodly amount of damage and still live. I've tested it many times before, and you could take up to 3 to 4 headshots with a shotgun and not die. But all these cards, at the same time, I'm being pretty sarcastic here, all the cards are bot cards. It's supposed to be. This is what you would guess you would call like an arcade shooter. It is a immersive multiplayer game that happens to have a PvP aspect, and people have just taken it way too serious. And I could go down the list of other Deadeye cards, but honestly, none of those are too good, beneficial, or bad. I think a really good card, the probably best card that's probably, right in the middle, is Focus Fire, because it just helps you get better damage all around, and you don't have any health buffs, no whatsoever, or any, beaver pelt hack glitches. It just kind of is what it is on that part. But I think just this weird vein that runs through the PvP community, that one, there's great fights, there's great crews, so I'm not talking about those guys, but I'm talking about the weird vein that's scaring people off. And not like people are actually scared, people just don't want to deal with it. People don't want to deal with getting booted. People don't want to deal with, most people probably don't even know they're even getting freeze lagged. They probably don't even know what the hell's going on. They're probably calling up their internet company, complaining and flipping out on them. But I know I trailed off a lot here at the end, but there was a point to it. The fact of, one, Rockstar is not caring, and at the same time, there's a certain part of the community that is just basically digging the hole for Red Dead Online to bury it as well. Now, is it inevitable no matter what we think or do as a community? It's very likely. But I just wanted to throw this video out here because I've literally done well over 1,000 videos for Red Dead Online. Good ones, bad ones, whether you hate me or like me. All the way around here, realize I've always just played a character in the game as Redbeard. And I think people take the game too serious. And when you see the people taking the crews outside of what the crews are and they try to make it real life, that's a scary situation no matter what video game you're playing. So we don't know what the future holds for Red Dead Online. I would say it's pretty grim. But like I said at the beginning of this video, I am more than fine of saying, hey, I put my foot in my mouth with this. Now, it's not the fact of that these exploits and cheats, not on that part, but on me assuming that the game is going to fully die and eventually come off servers. I'm fine with being wrong about that, but I'm just going by the track record and what other games that do go offline, we are heading down that vein. So we don't know, and Rockstar likes to keep us in that way. So we will see what comes for Red Dead Online in 2023. So I'm not going to bother speculating, just going to share my opinion of where we stand right now. And it's not great. It's not great at all. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video somewhat, somehow. I know it's hard to probably enjoy a video like this, but it is what it is. But as always, guys, I will catch you next time in the next video.